Maurice Nicol, Psychological Commentaries, Volume 1, based on work with Gurdjieff. Birdlip, February 14th, 1942, The Law of Seven, Part 2. When this system is presented in a purely formal way, the ray of creation is given in terms of the external universe. But the ray is a principle that, when applied to the external universe, gives the different levels to the starry masses, the sun, planets, and moons, in their descending order. It can be understood in this way. When, for example, it is said that the sun creates a small octave which forms organic life on Earth, it can be understood literally, but the ray represents levels of being and is internally as well as external. That is, the sun represents, in the external meaning of the ray, the actual sun. In the internal meaning, it represents beings at that level in the vertical scale of being. But you can understand it as you like to begin with, that is, literally or psychologically, for the two correspond. That is, different levels in the external universe are represented by different levels of intelligence, which are internal or psychological. If we speak of the intelligence of the sun, we can understand that it is higher than the intelligence of the earth simply from external representation. For the sun has infinitely more energies and radiance from the earth. But the ray should be actually understood in both senses, for outer and inner correspond, and everything internal is something corresponding externally. We can notice that this in our use of our language. We speak of internal or psychological things in terms of external or visible things. We call a cunning man a fox, a brave man a lion, and so on. Because outer and inner have similar source, they therefore can represent each other. For, as was said, the fundamental laws of three and the law of seven are found in nature and in man. For this reason, complex psychological ideas can be represented in visual imagery drawn from outer objects, as in the case of the parable. And for the same reason, to take man apart from the universe in which he is born is an error. The universe is microcosmos, and man is microcosmos. Man is the universe, and the universe is in man. To say then that the universe is dying and man is evolving is an absurdity from the standpoint of this work. Part 3. The ray of creation represents a descending octave. It descends into greater and greater obscurity and complexity and restrictions the further it proceeds from the absolute. The idea of an ascending octave from the absolute is impossible, for the absolute is all goodness and all perfection, and all ascending octave would imply increasing perfection. Let us now speak briefly of the law of seven, or the law of octave, from the psychological side. One can observe octaves in oneself, or rather, one can observe the beginnings of octaves. Everything you set out to do can be called the beginning of an octave. When you decide to do something, you sound do. If this do is weakly sounded, nothing will happen. But if it is sounded more strongly, you may reach the note re, and even the note mi. But here you reach the place of missing semitone, and here the shock is necessary to enable you to reach the note fa. This rarely happens. It may happen accidentally, but as a rule, it does not happen. That is why in this work it is said that life is full of broken octaves. People start something and give it up. But you must remember that man is created a self-developing organism, and that means he only develops by efforts. For all evolution of man is conscious. That is, by conscious effort, there is no mechanical evolution. And we need not be surprised to find many difficulties. The law of seven makes things difficult by its very nature. But we will speak of this more next time.